Laipply podcast.
This untapped power that Gavin Newsom, I think, is tapping into. I mean, they're just freaking out. They have entire panels dedicated to deciding whether it's, beneath the stature of an elected official to tweet the things Gavin Newsom's tweeting. The whole notion that the right is an absolute puddle of snowflakes has been exposed by Gavin Newsom. Childish, it is crass, it is vulgar, it's, of course, unpresidential, it's dumb. Leader Jeffries is pictured wearing a sombrero and a fake mustache, while Schumer goes about making a fake speech he never actually said or delivered. Mike Johnson doesn't know if a picture of Leader Hakeem Jeffries donning a sombrero and a mustache is or is not racist.
La cucaracha, ya no puede caminar, porque no tiene, porque le falta.
If a Democratic president someday calls the National Guard to a red state over what they see as open rebellion, but is what amounts to a demonstration that gets rowdy. I mean, is that not a fear?
They're posting pictures of their kids because it's a demonstration, and they have a sniper on top of a building firing a high-caliber rifle at a nice facility because it's a demonstration, and they are engaging in vehicle ramming.
But the National Guard isn't being sent to Texas.
Because it's a
the National Guard isn't being sent to Dallas, where that sniper was.
Because the Dallas Police Department and the governor of Texas, well, you walked right into that one, have responded to every call for assistance and help. They gave a stand-down order in Chicago, and they gave a stand-down order in Portland. Do you realize that there's 11,000 federal law enforcement officers in Oregon? That's larger than the size of the FBI. Local and state police are resourced to deal with this kind of riotous assembly, but they have refused. They've been given a stand-down order. So
they've arrested some 70 people since June. They've been arresting folks on the ground. They've been arresting folks on the ground. They refute what you're saying outright.
We literally have the 911 audio of the stand-down order in Chicago, and we have documented inside of DHS every single unresponded to 911 call over the recent weeks and months.
Is it the case that, as Pritzker frames it, you are profiling brown people, that this immigration crackdown is designed to go after people of color?
It's such a, oh, what a dumb question. The illegal aliens who are here are taking jobs away from blacks. They're taking jobs away from whites. They're taking jobs away from Latinos. They're taking their health benefits away. They're taking their school slots away. And, of course, in many cases, they're committing heinous crimes. We cannot have a system of law in this country that privileges illegal aliens over American citizens. And that's what they're doing. You know it, and I know it.
So that's not exactly a no, Stephen. Can you just unequivocally state that the immigration policy...
I said it's a dumb question. Okay.
Well, I appreciate that. But
it's a dumb question.
So no, this policy is not designed.
I thought when I said it was a dumb question, it meant no.
Well, I just want to be clear and precise. I appreciate you trying to qualify my questions, but nevertheless, I think it's a fair one that a lot of people have.
My full answer is no. That is a lie, and it's a dumb question.
Documented immigrants are already ineligible for Medicaid, the ACA exchanges, and for SNAP benefits. Not a single undocumented immigrant in this country gets a dime in federal taxpayer dollars for any part of comprehensive Medicaid coverage. Not one.
In terms of the health care, the reality is they're just not being honest. The amount of money that actually is going towards people who are undocumented is such a small portion.
I said, wait a minute. Wait a minute. First of all, you're not going to speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
Of the Medicaid cuts or the Affordable Care Act, if at all. And so we can argue that point, but the reality that even the vice president would acknowledge, that anyone who looks at the numbers will acknowledge, is 90 to 95% of the funding we're talking about is talking about funding for American
coverage. Not one.
Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
See, now that's some bullshit.
You support does bring back funding for emergency Medicaid to hospitals, some of which does pay for undocumented immigrants and people who don't have health insurance. And also there is this provision, and it's not about undocumented immigrants, it's about people with asylum seekers and people with temporary protected status, et cetera, but about their ability to get Medicaid. So they're non-citizens, they're not undocumented, they're not illegal. Why even include that in a bill knowing that they're going to seize right upon that and use that to message?
Coverage. Not one.
Look, guys, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Nobody likes Democrats anymore. We have no voters left because of all of our woke trans bullshit. Not even black people want to vote for us anymore. Even Latinos hate us. So we need new voters. And if we give all these illegal aliens free health care, we might be able to get them on our side so they can vote for us. They can't even speak English, so they won't realize we're just a bunch of woke pieces of shit, you know, at least for a while until they learn English and they realize they hate us too.
It's a disgusting video, and we're going to continue to make clear bigotry will get you nowhere. We are fighting to protect the health care of the American people in the face of an unprecedented Republican assault. Coverage. Not one.
And here's the other thing that is quite unprecedented. And it was the tightest, closest presidential election in the 21st century. He does not have a mandate. That is not a mandate. That is not a mandate.
He was elected president of the United States.
I don't disagree with that, unfortunately.
That's the mandate.
But it's not a mandate. And guess what? The beautiful thing about
hang on. What is a mandate then to you?
To me, a mandate is when you win by a lot.
By a lot.
There's a whole bunch of votes separating you. There were not.
But that's not what a mandate is in a democratic society.
Donald Trump is notorious.
Jolanda, that is fake news. A mandate in politics is whether you win or lose an election. And Donald Trump won emphatically.
I don't disagree.
He won by every metric he could possibly have won. He won every swing state. He won the popular and electoral college vote. He won the House. He won the Senate. He won the White House. There was nothing left to win. It was literally the widest mandate imaginable.
Out of step with what we are advocating, peaceful protest, did not create any violence. Nobody was shot, nobody was killed. Get it in your head. And so when martial law is called, what are you going to say? I missed the point. Don't miss the point, you all. Don't think that somehow, because they called out the National Guard, there was violence. There was no violence. I was on the street. I know. And I went from downtown detention back out into the community, talking to people what happened in Paramount, what happened in Compton, what happened in Inglewood. So, first of all, get it straight. And don't just rely on what you're being told or the few incidents that you saw.
Being able to undergo a full gender transition.
Happy Transgender Day of Visibility.
The military is the largest employer of transgender Americans.
We're done with that shit. No more pronouns. No more climate change obsession. No more emergency vaccine mandates. No more dudes in dresses. We're done with that shit.
right, Monday night, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing good. As always, be blessed in the mighty name of Jesus. Let me say hey to everybody in the Rumble chat tonight. JD Joy is on. USA Abbey Girl is on. Mike Griffith is on. Adam Lombard is on. JGCK is on. Hugo Stiglitz is on. Guitar Glenn is on. Judy Anita is on. Prayer Works 2 is on. Gloyd Shaw is on. Guitar Glenn is on. Johnny F62 is on. Mobeto 1 is on. Supergirl 21 is on. Salty Gonads is on. Let me see here. Scrolling down. USA Abbey Girl is on. Scooter Magruder is on. Let me see. That's our people. Gen 11 Live Free is on. Sunwoo 45 is on. Big Scott 1 is on. Richard Perry's on. Mr. Cool Dude is on. My favorite show is on. Only Jesus Knows All is on. Let me see here. Sheila K is on. Hanslick Donovan is on. Patty K 44 is on. Adam Lombard is on. General Plowman is on. Peg McGroin is on. Jim Brody is on. DK Jackson is on. Let me scroll down here. K4 VMS is on. TJT1 is on. Keeper 1376 is on. Motorcycle is on. Those Jesus People is on. LA 106 Times is on. Conservative Waffle is on. Scrolling down. Let me see, grab a couple more here. Big Scott 1 is on. Linesmanson is on. Jeannie Malfeasy is on. Granite 2468 is on. I'm going to grab 2 or 3 more. Let me see here. Kansas Law Dog is on. A. Wethy is on. At least one more. Let me find somebody. Oh, there we go. Aphrodite's is on. There, one more. Uncle Wally is on. Love you guys. Appreciate each and every one of you. All right, before we get into the police stand-downs in Portland and Chicago, I want to do just a couple miscellaneous things that just kind of popped up that I can't help but cover. And I'll be honest with you, I actually love to just go one slide at a time instead of doing an entire series of stuff. And maybe that's what I need to do. But the problem is there's just so much to every story that it's hard to do that. But anyway, let's go to the first one. Evan Kilgore video. Here's the latest. Now, this is a Candace Owens video. There's people like, they're like, well, Tom, don't put Candace Owens on because of this. And then people will be like, don't put this person on because of that. Just understand that's not how I operate. It's not how I operate. I mean, I'll put on just about it. I'll put on Ben Shapiro. Okay. And I mean, I certainly don't agree with everything. I'll put on, I'm just trying to think of other people that are kind of middle of the roaders, but I mean, because whatever. I mean, I'll put on Fox News clips. I'll put on whatever, because if it's true, then it's true. I'll put on Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh D'Souza and his wife are out there pimping and whoring vaccines. I mean, and so is Ben Shapiro. But when somebody's right about something, I put it on. Or when somebody is dropping some truth about something, I'm going to put it on. And Tom, do you like Candace Owens? I do like Candace Owens. I mean, I do. When you like somebody, it's the same thing that happens in church. If you espouse a preacher's name, invariably somebody's going to come up to you and say, well, you know, this is what that guy's really all about. Or have you heard this about okay, well, but that, just so you know, that's true about you. Yeah. And that's true about me. You know, people could say, you know, do you know that he occasionally smashes his devices against the wall? That's true. I mean, that is true. That has happened many times, sadly enough. I'm trying to think of the computers that have actually survived me. I think both of my current laptops have survived me, but the one before that did not. And my last several phones did not. So that's true. You know what I mean? So people could say, well, yeah, he's up there preaching hellfire and brimstone and abject hypocrisy because, you know, he smashes devices. That's a fit of rage. Well, you know what? First of all, it's not hypocrisy because I turned from the sin. I never preached to anybody that if you sin, you're going to hell. I preach to you if you don't repent of your sin, you're going to hell because all of a sudden it falls short of the glory of God. So anyway, this is Candace, and I showed Candace Owens video. And I got it last time I did it. Someone, Tom, don't buy into Candace because of I mean, it almost anybody you could say that about. I mean, not almost anybody, everybody, because everybody's wrong about something. But anyway, so Evan Kilgore video breaking. Candace Owens just exposed these emails about Charlie Kirk. And not about Charlie Kirk, with Charlie Kirk talking about Israel. Play for me.
And others knew that Charlie was done with Israel bullying him, and I am now going to present you proof of what I am saying. This is an actual group chat, which happened 2 days before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. There were 9 people in total on this chat, including Charlie. and Rob McCoy. I'm going to protect the names of the other 7 for now. To be clear, I might actually release a name every day this week, but I want to show you this because suffice it to say, Rob McCoy was on this text thread, and I think it helps contextualize him as a person, in my view, that he would attack me for telling the truth about the pressure that he was facing. Take a look. So Charlie writes in this group chat, just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Somebody writes, oh. Charlie writes, Jewish donors play into all of the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. And somebody writes, a donor writes, please do not invite Candace. That might feel good short term, but it's not good long term, in my opinion. Like all groups, you're going to get a wide variety of opinions. That nasty free will thing that God bestowed on us makes life frustrating at times after the dust settles a bit, maybe. So again, this is 48 hours before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was very clear and he was very explicit, and he did not back down, not in that Hamptons meeting, which they're all lying about, nor in this text thread. I'm not going to reveal the names of the other 7. Actually, you know what? I disagree with myself 4 seconds ago. Let's just throw in Josh Hammer for funsies. He's on this chat. Okay.
You said that was me?
Yeah.
Changing my mind just like that? Yeah. Yeah, that could happen. Because I'll start off and I'll be like, I'll be committed to doing good. And then as I get madder and madder and madder, I turn from good to evil. But anyway, just on this real quick. It's just Tom believes that Israel assassinated Charlie Kirk. I don't. Here's the thing. I don't know who did it. Where I stand is that everything that we've been fed is absolute bull crap, and completely devoid of all semblance of wisdom, devoid of all semblance of logic. It makes no sense. It's completely illogical and nonsensical, what we've been told about the shooting. It makes absolutely no sense. Every sniper has said that's an exit wound coming from the left side of his neck, which means he was shot from where, Aaron?
Back right.
Back right. And let's just memorize it. Back right, not front, back right. Because if there's an exit wound in your left, that means it had to be shot unless a 30-06 round makes a right turn. And then we're back to the Spruta film again.
Yeah.
So what do I believe? I believe it's an intel op. I do. It could be deep state Republicans. It could be deep state Democrats. It could be just be Democrats. It could be, trans activists used, the armed queers of Salt Lake City. That's a group that Tyler Robinson was affiliated with. It could be them. It could be intel ops using them. But me, it was a giant op. My opinion is that Tyler Robinson was there. And he was told to be there for maybe to be a spotter or something else, and somebody else took the shot. And then he realized I'm being framed for this thing. And it's funny, though, because I don't want to deep dive into this because I'll spend an hour on it. I'm not going to do it. At least I commit to, but I'll be like Candace and then change my mind. But anyway, we're not allowed to see the video where he takes the shot. We can see everything else. We're actually allowed to see the videos where Charlie Kirk gets hit, but we're not allowed to actually see where Tyler Robinson allegedly takes the shot, but we could see him running away from the point where he took the shot, where all of it's covered by the same camera.
Yeah.
And all we get is murky Zapruder film style footage where these are all 4K cameras. And by the way, Turning Point's 4K cameras all around them.
Yeah.
For their video production. So makes no sense. But here's the thing. You hear all these people now saying, people that are super pro-Israel. And Tom, what are you? I want to just let everybody know, here's where I'm at. Here's where I am. I am always anti-Muslim, and I with Israel, I take them case by case. That's exactly what I do. That's it. Always anti-Muslim. Where you're like, well, Muslims are anti-Israel. I'm not anti-Israel. So that's why you don't see me siding with Rashida Tlaib or brother marrying Ilhan Omar or any of the rest of them, because I'm always anti-Muslim. Always. And I am anti-Israel when they are doing horrendous things, when they are committing genocides, when they are attacking the USS Liberty, when they are trying to instigate us into another war like they're doing right now. Because latest and this is from Aaron giving this to me off of the news, is that Netanyahu's out there preaching again. Oh, Iran's 2 weeks away. Do you realize that we have video footage from Benjamin Netanyahu in the early 80s saying that Iran was 2 weeks away? 2 weeks away from having a nuke. They're doing it right now. Well, they're already up to, what was it, Aaron? 8,000 miles, and it only takes another 3,000 or 4,000 miles. And the next thing you know, they're going to be able to bomb NYC. Well, why would anybody bomb NYC knowing that means that means your own obliteration?
Right.
And why are we concerned? Israel has 1,000 nukes already. Russians have thousands of nukes already. Okay, China has atomic weapons, maybe nuclear weapons with a questionable delivery system. Pakistan is nuclearized, has nukes. India has nukes. Japan has nukes. France has people don't realize this because of what geldings the French people are. French leadership is, not necessarily all the people. But they actually have a very advanced weapon system and a very advanced nuclear arsenal. France does. So why would anybody bomb the United States from Iran? Well, how does that make any sense? But that's Netanyahu's trying to instigate us into more actions. And what we'll see is he'll lay low for the rest of this year, get through the holiday season, and then right at the beginning of the season, he'll amp up. Iran will do something. Iran will do something. You know, mysteriously, you'll have the one of the most advanced air defense systems on the planet mysteriously go down, and then people will invade your country using paragliders, kill 1,400 of your citizens, and it takes you, and you are no more than 40 minutes away from that music festival. No more than 40 minutes away. I'm not talking about a few Jeeps and a few AR-15s. I'm talking about a multi-thousand IDF response, 40 minutes. How long did it take them? Did everybody remember? 6 hours.
Yeah.
6 to 7 hours. And then really much longer than that for it to be a substantive response. Tell me then where there wasn't a stand down, i.e. Portland and Chicago right now. You know, I mean, so please. Israel has a CIA just like we do. It's called the Mossad. And Mossad, according to Thomas Massey, Mossad and CIA are basically indistinguishable. They are so merged together that you can't even tell them apart. And this is somebody with access to that sort of information. So Candace is just simply illuminating, because should we just exonerate Israel? Absolutely not. Should we exonerate establishment Republicans and Democrats? Absolutely not. Intel agencies? Absolutely not. You don't exonerate anybody any more than you believe all women.
Right.
You don't do that. You investigate. So we ought to know, where was Charlie standing with this Jewish lobby, who are massive contributors to TPUSA? Aaron, look up Rob McCoy. I think I know who it is, but I want to make sure. I think he's a big wig in TPUSA. He might be running it now. But anyway. So she's just illuminating what his interactions were with basically AIPAC and the Jewish lobby, because it really all merged as one. So what was his relationship with Jewish donors at the time? So you put Charlie right at the top. Just lost another huge Jewish donor, and there's 13 people on this chat. And then a lot of these same people, and I don't know who they are, will claim now that there was no big cancellation of Jewish donations. Charlie's pastor, senior pastor of Godspeak Calvary Chapel in Thousand Oaks. How much you want to bet he does some real pro-Israel sermons?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know that. I'm just saying, is it possible? Highly likely, I should say.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we just lost another huge Jewish donor. $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson has not come out anti-Israel. Tucker Carlson just simply says, can we please assess Gaza? Can we please assess bombing Iran? Can we please assess that Netanyahu has like a 6% approval rating? Can we just look at the things logically? I mean, does everybody realize that most people in Israel are against what Netanyahu is doing? And yet, if you criticize what Netanyahu, get this, try to let this seep deep into your brain. That if you criticize what Netanyahu's doing, you're an anti-Semite. And you're an anti-Semite if you agree with 95% of Jewish citizens, Israeli citizens. How is that? Because you are being the exact same critic as 94% of the Jewish population, but yet you're espousing the same views, but you're an anti-Semite, but because they're Jewish, they're not. How does that make sense? And by the way, you have the various big name Jews in America that are criticizing the Netanyahu regime. So it doesn't make you an anti-Semite any more than it makes you anti-American to criticize a president. So they lose a big donor. One of the responses is, Charlie Kirk says, Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes because he's hearing about it. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Can it be any clearer? And then please don't invite Candace and all that crap. So Candace so far has been right about most things. Tom, don't you think maybe she pimps for views? Maybe. I don't know what her motives are, but you know what? Everybody pimps for views. Everybody does. Me, I kind of pimp for no views. You know, I like pimp to have people stand up and walk out of the church, you know, kind of thing. So I don't really do that. The thing is, I just put the show, whatever the news is. But this is just proof right here that the Jewish lobby was moving away from Charlie Kirk. Look at Charlie Kirk's verbiage. Leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. I cannot and will not be bullied by the Jews. That's what he's saying.
Yep.
I mean, what are you going to do, folks? I mean, that is where he was at. And then he was shot a few weeks later. Now, did Israel do it? I have no proof that Israel did it, nor does anybody else. And even Candace doesn't say that they did it, but she wants them investigated. They're known for doing these things. I mean, come on, they assassinate people all the time, just like we do. And some people should be assassinated, but it's certainly not Charlie Kirk. So again, it just exposes the truth. Let's go to the next one. Steak and Shake tweet. I want to show you. Here's the people that stood up, did it. Charlie Kirk Memorial, Steak and Shake. You're like, Tom, what is it with you and Steak and Shake? Listen, I'm going to appreciate the companies that come through that are pro-patriot, that are pro-people like you and me. We need to patronize these companies because they just like Hollywood, basically every movie outside of the ones where they play it smart, like the Joker and like Top Gun and movies like that where they play it right down the middle. There's no political expediency on either side. They know, Hollywood knows going in, we're only going to try to attract half the United States. They know it going in. That may not be what they want to do, but that's exactly what they do. Well, companies like this, and whether it's MyPillow, Mike Lindell, or whatever it is, they know that they're going to lose a lot of customers doing these things. Well, we need to make sure that when we can, to patronize these companies. I wish there was an alternative to Walmart. You have like in Publix here, it's a grocery store here in Florida and in the South, where they have now stopped all political donations. Good, I'm fine. Yeah. I will shop there. That's not where Walmart's at. It certainly isn't where Home Depot's at. So I go to Lowe's. That's what I try to do. And listen, if I have to go to Home Depot, I do. So I don't know if I'm trying to think if I've gotten any hardcore boycotts. There's certain actors I will not watch. But anyway, Steak and Shake, the flag installations have begun at Steak and Shake. Every Steak and Shake is getting the tallest and biggest American flag that local governments will allow. Steak and Shake proudly supports American values and traditions. And by the way, Steak and Shake is great. I mean, good, really good food. I love their food. But anyway, so I just want to point that out. Let's go to the next one. Lives a TikTok tweet. Here's the trans bus driver. I'm trying to think. He's got a beard, so it's a man pretending to be a woman. Yeah. So it's hard to tell whether that's a man pretending to be a woman or a woman pretending to be a man. But I'm guessing a man pretending to be a woman. All right, trans school bus driver at Sugar Creeks. That's some sort of school district. Arrested on child sex crime charges. The thing that Democrats say never happens. So they always tell us these people. You don't need to be concerned about transgender people who for some reason. Again, one of the smartest things I've ever heard said, it's by that guy that does the videos while he's eating, is he goes, don't be concerned that you have children watching trans drag shows. Be concerned that trans people want children at their shows. Yeah. That's what you need to be concerned about. I mean, you should be concerned about both. But you see the point. Because the Democrats will always say, there's nothing to be concerned here. This is not a pedophile operation. This is not a pedophile grooming operation. Well, now we know that it is because we could spend 3 shows on slides exclusively with these offenders. And here is another one. The thing that the Democrats say never happens has now happened again. Go to the next one for me. James Lynch tweet. I'm hopping all over the place right now. Biden FBI spied on 8 GOP senators as part of its sweeping anti-Trump investigation. This is Arctic Frost. Why these people are so gay? They really, I mean, they are just such gay little cuck boys. All of them. I told you, the FBI sucks. There's no real cops ever talk like this. They just don't talk like this. That's what these guys, the FBI, and I know I've talked about this before, and I know there's other cops that are in the chat. I got another cop in the room with me here. They're not cops. That's the problem. They're social workers and lousy attorneys and DEI hires. That's what the FBI is. They have no real law enforcement training. They've never written a ticket. They've never handled a domestic violence call. Now, there are exceptions, but very few actual cops go from cops to FBI. And this is why they come up with gay names like Arctic Frost. Hey, what should we name this, Bill? Hey, let's name it Arctic Frost. Biden FBI spied on 8 GOP senators as part of its sweeping anti-Trump investigation for Jack Smith's J6 case, records show. Senators were Lindsey Graham, Haggerty, Hawley, Sullivan, Tuberville, Johnson, Loomis, and Blackburn. As the Democrats, while you have Fusion Ken Delanian on every show he can possibly whore himself out to, talking about how the Trump administration is weaponizing the DOJ. How exactly is the Trump administration weaponizing the DOJ? Because they have a mortgage fraud allegation against Letitia James, which by another prosecutor has refused. We already revealed this from the last time. We had the prosecutor who refused to Seifert, I can't remember the last name for sure, but it's something like Seifert, refused to prosecute the Letitia James case. And then Trump fired him, put in another girl, a woman who never has even tried a case, and she got secured 2 out of 3 indictments. That's how good the case is against Letitia James. It's unequivocal. I mean, it's undeniable, her case is. Because it's right there. She committed mortgage fraud. She claimed that her dad was her husband. She claimed that a 4-bedroom house was a 3-bedroom house. She claimed to be the primary, for one of the residences, or more than one of them, to be her primary residence. Same thing that Schiff did. It's lock, stock, and barrel. It's done. So he fired that one, secured 2 indictments against, no, that was James Comey. I just confused the whole thing. That was James Comey. Erase that. That was all the Comey stuff. So anyway, this is now switching. That's what got confused. Now switching to Letitia James. We have the same thing going on with Letitia James as we did with Comey. Now the person who's in charge of prosecuting, seeking the indictments on Letitia James is refusing to do so. So it's a she actually. She's about to be fired. She knows that. And they will easily secure indictments against Letitia James. But while all the Democrats are crying about this is what was going on during the 4 years of the Biden administration and the 8 years of the Obama administration and many years of Trump .1. Most of 17, 18, 19, and 20 was the FBI investigating Donald Trump and wiretapping Donald Trump. As Democrats right now and their Goebbels media Mengele puppets claim that the current DOJ is weaponized against Democrats. Imagine having that level of hierarchical hypocrisy and audacity. But there it is. Let's go to the next one. Red Wave press video breaking. A top career prosecutor at the Norfolk office of East District of Virginia, Elizabeth Husey, has informed her colleagues, here it is, that she plans to decline to seek charges against New York Attorney General Letitia James. Here's Fusion Ken Delanian. Play for me.
Let me ask you about this reporting that you and Carol Leonnig just came out with. The another top prosecutor, rejecting another pressure campaign to bring charges against another perceived enemy. Who is this and who is it about?
So it's about the New York Attorney General, Letitia James. As viewers may remember, she is the subject of mortgage fraud allegations being investigated by the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Virginia, the same one that just charged James Comey. And what we've learned is that a top career criminal prosecutor based in Norfolk, Virginia, who had been in charge of this case, is now preparing to write a memo and send it to the newly installed U.S. Attorney saying, we are not charging this case. There's nobody in this office that believes that this is a good case, that there's probable cause that a crime was committed here, that Letitia James committed mortgage fraud. Now, she fully expects to be fired over this because it's been made clear to prosecutors in that office that the White House wants this case brought. So it's just another example of the Trump administration essentially seizing the reins of the Justice Department and directing it to take action against Donald Trump's perceived political enemies, whether or not the experts, the career prosecutors, believe that the evidence merits it. It's a really troubling moment for the rule of law in our country, Katie. Yeah,
my favorite thing right there at the end, the experts. The experts who are political hacks and have extreme political bias that affects or infects their expertise. But anyway, I could spend an hour on that. I'm not going to do it. Why is he called Fusion Ken? Fusion Ken Delanian. Why is he called that? Because he believed in the Fusion GPS Steele dossier and espoused it for years. And even after it was proven to be completely false, that's the PP hoax. Where Donald Trump, a germaphobe, is in a Ritz-Carlton in Moscow being urinated on by Russian hookers in Barack Obama's normal room. That's the room at the Ritz. That's the room, a room previously occupied by Hussein Obama. That's what Fusion Ken espoused for years, and now he's concerned about what's going on with Letitia James, somebody who espoused the virtue. Everybody remember, and I know I say this on the podcast all the time, but I always like to give things context. You had Hillary Clinton hire Perkins Coie, Mark Elias, who hired Fusion GPS, who hired Christopher Steele, who hired Igor Danchenko, and put together, using open source data off of Google, the Steele dossier that idiot right there used to investigate Donald Trump for 2.5 years, $42 million, 40 FBI agents. And he still thinks it's true. And yet just think about what he did there. 2 years, over 2 years, that was the Robert Mueller thing. You know, for all that time, over 2 years, espousing that Donald Trump colluded with Russia. They wiretapped Trump using the one-hop rule with Carter Page. They wiretapped Trump Tower. They went in and framed General Flynn, claiming that he lied after they both wrote witness statements. Both FBI agents who went in there wrote their 302s stating that he didn't lie. And then said that he did, and then used his son as leverage, claiming that they were going to try to prosecute his son. But I could spend an hour on Flynn, too. But anyway, that's the whole, Strzok Page. Peter Strzok was one of those. Went in and lied, changed his own 302, his own sworn witness statement. That's how corrupt these people are, so that he could try to fraudulently prosecute General Flynn. This is all part of that. And Fusion Ken's good with it and is now crying about a weaponized Trump DOJ. And it's just, again, with Letitia James, he's saying that this case is frivolous, that there are no elements to the crime here, that there is no case against her, that this is a quote, unquote, weak case. Not one of you, with 1,871 people watching right now, and three of us in this room, not one of us would escape jail time or prison time for what Letitia James did. No. Not one of us would. Ken knows that. Imagine, and this is a guy, I know I say this again all the time. This is a guy who gets up in the morning, looks his wife in the eye, has a cup of coffee, probably has some kids, and they all think that he's an honest broker. He is a lying sack of feces. He is a worthless human being. He is a Goebbels liar, propagandist, gaslit moron. That's who he is. He knows that there's a great case against Letitia James because it's already been proved, and she signed on the dotted line numerous times where she committed fraud. She said this was my primary residence. Was it? Was her primary residence ever located in the state of Virginia? No, never, not one time in her entire life. Was her husband ever her father? She's not even married, to my knowledge. But her husband was her father? I mean, her husband was her father, makes sense. Yeah, right. Yeah, she claimed that her father was her husband. So those are all lies, and they were all to secure lower interest rates and better mortgage deals. And she did it numerous times over years. Adam Schiff did the same thing 30 times on the dotted line. I am swearing and affirming this is my primary residency. That's a crime. It's called mortgage fraud. There are actual victims in this, unlike Trump's civil real estate fraud case, where there were no victims when the alleged victim, Deutsche Bank, came up and said, well, we love it. He paid us back with interest on time. We want to do business with him again. Here you have an actual victim bank or mortgage broker because they lied And they secured lower interest rates. They ripped off the banks and the mortgage companies from their proper fees by lying and claiming that there was 4 rooms when there was claiming that there was 4 rooms when there was 3 or 3 when there was 4, claiming that your husband's your dad, claiming this is your primary residence when it's not. And they did it numerous times because they secured numerous mortgages over the years. It's over. But you have a leftist sycophant who's in charge of the prosecutorial investigation who says that there's nothing to it. How's there nothing to it? How's there nothing to it? I mean, it's right there. It's on paper. It's like looking at a video. So it's just all lies and propaganda. Let's go to the next one. Red Wave Press video. Fox News alert. Biden appointed federal judge Deborah Boardman slapped Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh's transgender would-be assassin. She slapped him. With what? This guy orchestrated an assassination attempt against Brett Kavanaugh. Nicholas Roski, a.k.a. now Sophie, because he has changed his name because he is identifying now as a female and wants to go to a female prison, of course. How does she slap him? With a mere 8 years in prison for an assassination attempt. George Santos, the congressman who simply lied on like his like an application for Congress or whatever it was, he got 8 years. He never committed an act of violence. He got 8. Remember when we played it here on the podcast? He didn't really do anything. He claimed to have education he didn't have or something along those lines. That's all. He got 8 years because he was. Where did he get tried? I probably need to do a whole show, maybe a whole week of shows, just to get it off my chest, because our judicial system, our court system, is so freaking corrupt. It's so bad. I mean, it is absolutely criminal what these Democrat judges do. It's criminal. How can these people even look at their kids in the face and say that your dad or your mom is a decent human being? They are corruptocrats. They are Democratic Party sycophants. They are disgusting. They are biased people. They are wretched, horrible people who give people who should get no jail time a decade in prison. That's who they are. It's that bad. They give people who have committed crimes that don't exist lengthy sentences. I mean, Tom, what do you mean crimes that don't exist? I'm telling you. Republicans get convicted of crimes that aren't even on the books, that aren't even statutes, i.e. Donald J. Trump, 34 felony convictions. Not one of those convictions is actually a New York state statute. Well, how's that possible, Tom? Because Juan Merchan somehow is able to oversee every Trump trial in NYC. There is a panel of 24 judges, and what they do with every case is they basically draw straws or they pick a number out of a hat of 24. And that's your odds of getting a case, is 1 in 24 every time. How is it that Juan Merchan, over the 3 Trump administration cases in NYC, got all 3? How is that possible? How is Maureen Comey trying every single Epstein case until she was fired by Donald J. Trump? How is it? Because our system is so freaking corrupt. And by the way, you're thinking, well, Juan Merchan, he did have a 1 in 24 chance, except for he's not one of the 24.
Oops.
Tom, that makes no sense. That's the judicial system. You think, any of you think you're going to get a fair trial? That's why the FBI comes knocking at my door. I'm not going. I can't get a fair trial. Depends on where they're going to try me. And that's how bad it is. It depends on, and that's why the Democrats love to espouse. He was tried fairly. He was indicted fairly. Fairly what, in a D.C. district court? 98% voted for Biden under a Biden appointee. You need to sometime deep dive into the Bannon case and the Peter Navarro case, or even the Alex Jones case that they made sure they tried him in Hartford and Austin. So he has no chance. The blue-haired vaccine whoring judge. It's that bad. It really is that bad. It is. Oh, there's a video with this. Oh, I got to show the video. But anyway, so Sophie now is getting 8 years for an attempted assassination of a Supreme Court justice. Play it for me.
Fox News alert, Kavanaugh's wannabe trans assassin, Nicholas Roski, was sentenced today.
8 years in prison for trying to kill a Supreme Court justice. 8 years. Prosecutors were asking for 30. That's a big difference. Why? Well, you'd have to ask Judge Deborah Boardman, a Biden appointee, who thinks this isn't an assassination story. It's a story of trans acceptance. Quote, I am heartened that this terrible infraction has helped the Roski family accept their daughter for who she is. During the hearing, Boardman asked Roski, Miss Roski, have you read the sentencing report? And in a deep, booming baritone, Roski said, yes. Boardman called Roski by his new name, Sophie, and grilled the DOJ about sending Sophie to a woman's prison and giving him hormone therapy. Is this lady serious? She just gave a guy 10 years for wire fraud. Is wire fraud worse than trying to kill a Supreme Court justice? It is if the assassin's trans. Bondi says the DOJ will be appealing the sentence.
All right, so let's go back to front on this, shall we? Now, let me do a poll here in the room and everybody watching. Who do you think's going to pay for his gender transition in federal prison? Can anybody guess? Aaron, would you like to chime in?
Probably me.
Oh, yeah, you. And Brett, congratulations. So are you. And congratulations to myself that you and I are going to pay for Sophie here, who is claiming to be a woman, so I guess he can leer at naked women as they shower in federal prison. While he goes in there with his female penis. Her penis. Bigot. That's the thing. So, credit Ricky Gervais. But anyway, see, just look at this. The judge says, I need to spend a couple weeks on it. I won't, don't worry. But you have a judge, folks, who is such a political activist. These are supposed to be the people who are non-biased, who simply decide whether or not you are guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in relationship with the elements of the crime. That's it. And she says things like this. I am heartened that this terrible infraction has helped the Roski family accept their daughter for who she is. That's their daughter. And then she asks him, do you understand the various tenets of your sentencing? Yes, I do. And he actually goes, the judge actually goes, Sophie, do you understand, the various tenets of your sentencing? Yes, says Sophie. This is where, we live in a realm. This is the DC area. We live in the realm of abject, asinine idiocy. That we are being force-fed every day. This person right here, Nick here, should be spending the rest of his life. He tried to assassinate a Supreme Court justice, and he gets 8 years. George Santos lied on a resume and gets 8 years. People who are unlawfully parading in the Capitol on 1/6 get 10 years. Enrique Tarrio gets 22 years, and he wasn't even in D.C. on 1/6. This is the system that we are in. And it all seems like we have this normalcy bias, all of us do, me included, that unless it affects us, life is still normal. It's not normal. When you're Steve Bannon, you go to federal prison because you didn't obey a subpoena from a committee that can't issue them. That's what I was talking about earlier when I said you're convicted of a crime that doesn't exist. Steve Bannon went to federal prison, the only person sitting in federal prison with a misdemeanor conviction. What do you mean, Tom? He's in federal prison you never go to federal prison for a misdemeanor conviction, ever. So there's another thing that never happens, but because he's a Republican and because he's a MAGA Republican, he goes to federal prison for a misdemeanor. A misdemeanor didn't commit because it doesn't exist. You can't obstruct Congress by not obeying a subpoena from a select committee that can't issue them. The judge knew that and sentenced him anyway. The prosecutor knew that and prosecuted him anyway. The jury knew that and convicted him anyway. This is how bad it is. It's that bad. And now we have a federal judge, a Biden appointee, saying that, you know what? I am heartened that this terrible infraction has helped the Roski family accept their daughter, fully penised man, I guarantee you, attracted to women, for who she is. Give me a break. All right, here's another fun one for you. Western Lensman video. Jay Jones, guy running for political office in Virginia. I think he's running for AG, running for Attorney General. Attorney General candidate in Virginia under Glenn Youngkin. Glenn Youngkin has nothing to do with this guy. Jay Jones, Western Lensman video, your priorities come into focus when you're a parent, he says. My highest priority will always be the safety of our families. That's what he says. Hey, Aaron, side by side this, would you real quick? So this is Jay Jones. And then he says, so remember what he just said. My highest priority will always be the safety of our families. Also, Jay Jones, I want my political opponents to watch their children die. That's this guy. Play it for me.
People always told me that your priorities come into focus when you become a parent. And my highest priority will always be the safety of our families.
You said, according to the article, I'm quoting, Gilbert's wife could watch her own child die in her arms so that Gilbert might reconsider his political views. I can think of nothing more horrific than a mother having to hold her dying child. How can Virginians trust a man who said something so horrific, so callously?
Well, again, I am so deeply, deeply sorry for what I said. And I wish that it hadn't happened, and I would take it back if I could.
It didn't happen. You did it. Those are two different things. A thunderstorm blew in. It happened. You did that. He actually said that he wanted to kill his political opponent and his children so that his political opponent's wife could watch their children die in a text message. That's that guy. And he's running for what? Attorney General. Hence what I'm talking about with our judicial system. That guy would be making decisions about whether Republicans go to prison or not. How do you think that Republican would fare? These people should never be allowed in the law enforcement system. Here's where I stand. You shouldn't be able to register with a party if you're going to be a judge or an AG. You shouldn't be able to do it. You're like, Tom, I don't really agree with that. It doesn't say you can't vote. I said you can't register with a party. You have to be like a registered independent, and you can't make political donations, and you can't be a political activist. You're deciding on whether people, and again, we have a normalcy bias, and we think that everything's always going to be normal until you're the one sentenced to prison. I've met a couple J6 people. I was with Alex Jones the day that Owen Schroyer was sentenced to prison. I did like a 5-minute segment with him on InfoWars at Rodney Howard-Brown's church, and he was on the phone with Owen Schroyer. When he got sentenced to prison. For what? Owen Schroyer never did anything except give medical aid to people on the grounds. He never even crossed over the fence line. He never did anything. And because people like Jay Jones are making these decisions. That's why something has to be done. There needs to be strict sentencing guidelines. Strict sentencing guidelines. That you can never make it worse than the sentencing guidelines. You can go lighter, but you cannot make it worse. It needs to be that way because we have Democrats in charge of whether or not people go to prison or not. And once you're in prison, it's a real deal. I've had 2 J6ers come to church here. One is coming to church here right now. And face their entire life being gone for what? They didn't beat up on cops. They didn't do anything. Even the ones that did beat up on cops, that's still a relatively, depending on how bad you beat the cop, you should get the sentence that should be required with that. That's it. And they got sentences way higher than that because you had liars like Fanone, Gunnell, and Dunn lie about what actually happened there. Lie about their own injuries. Gunnell especially lied about his injuries. We showed the video saying he had a head wound and a foot wound. We showed the video post-confrontation. He had no wounds. So he had people who may have hit him, and I don't believe I was a cop for 25 years. That's a felony assault, and you should be tried and convicted if you hit a cop on J6, unless it was in self-defense, because it was pretty murky about what was going on there. And I believe wholeheartedly it was a Fedsurrection, was stirred up. But the problem is, in order to have a color revolution, in order to have a Fedsurrection, you have to have compliant morons in the crowd, and there were some compliant morons.
Right.
There were. They're compliant. You're calling some people who are part of the MAGA movement morons? Yes. You ought to know there that you see smashed windows in the Capitol that you ought not to walk through them. You see, whether it was Antifa or BLM, Sullivan, whoever ripping them down, you ought not to go in. but people did, and they went and sat in Nancy Pelosi's office and walked around with the Senate podium in their hand. Okay, what do you think's going to happen to you? I mean, you right there. I love you, but you're a MAGA moron. All right, look at this one. This is me having fun now. I mean, therefore I am tweet. Breaking, fire Democrat youth. That's the youth outreach coordinator for the Democratic Party. She's fired now. She lasted like 3 months. But you know what her job was? It's Olivia Giuliana. Her job was outreach to men. Because everybody wants you. That's good, you know, and she's going to run against the guy on the right. That's Wesley Hunt for Congress. But anyway, fired Democrat Youth Outreach Coordinator Olivia Giuliana is preparing to run for Congress against military veteran Wesley Hunt.
Run.
I guarantee she ate every beat of that pizza right in front of her. But anyway, so here's the video of her and wokeness and really espousing violence like every Democrat, but in her own sort of special way. And wokeness video. Play it for me.
As the saying goes, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Yes. So Gen Z, let's take our seat in our democracy.
If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Well, very apropos for her, isn't it? Because you are. Everything's on the menu for Olivia, as we can tell. Everything's on the menu. All right, I got to show you this one. Just back, here it is. Basically today is when this video is probably a couple days old, but it's basically today. Adam Carolla, he lives in Malibu. He watched all the Malibu beachfront property, strangely, just the beachfront property, burned to the freaking ground. Gone, right? So I'm just curious now. I mean, I'm sure now that we're, 9 months later, that there has to be at least one permit issued. There has to be some reconstruction going on because for those of us in this room that have experienced hurricanes, now, I think, Brent, you've been through a couple now. And then I think you missed Ian, though, right? You missed Ian?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so when we took a direct hit from a Cat 5, and Tom, it was categorized as a Cat 4. Well, the reason why it was categorized as a Cat 4 was because the insurance lobby in the state of Florida, what happens is if it's a Cat 5, nobody has to pay their deductibles. But if it's a Cat 4, then you do have to pay your deductibles. And it was clearly a Cat 5 because it was just registered at, 200-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah.
And by the way, I witnessed them as they did $268,000 worth of damage to my own house and $4 million worth of damage to the church, which I didn't get from the insurance company. But anywho, I digress. I could spend an hour on that too, but I will not do that to you. But anyway, so and now the reason why I bring that up is that when we've experienced these, we've had a couple of major hurricanes blow through here. Charlie blew through south of here. I worked it as a cop, and it basically lifted Punta Gorda off the earth. It was gone.
Yeah.
So I watched it up. Now, what happened immediately, though, especially under DeSantis, what happened immediately? Everybody starts to rebuild. You see the permits, you see the tarps, you see those, the construction placards that come out. Everybody's got them. You see all the construction crews, everything. But strangely, Pacific Palisades, Malibu, all burned to the freaking ground right where they're going to have the Olympics. Right where they want to plan these 15-minute environmentally friendly cities where your power can be turned off, your AC can be turned up and down by the power company, all those 15-minute cities. You can only enter through a QR code, exit through a QR code city. That Gavin Newsom wants to build in those areas along with his globalist pals, his wife who loves to lop off penises, testicles, and breasts. That's her passion in life. That's who these people are. Strangely, in these areas where it was completely burned to the ground, thousands upon tens of thousands of homes, but this is focused on Malibu solely. No permits are being issued at all 9 months later. Nothing. And they're being scooped up by foreign entities. That's weird, isn't it? Namely by China. Give it to me, Aaron.
China.
And China wants to do what? What they're doing right now. 15-minute coffins for everybody. So anyway, the Adam Carolla show, something suspicious is going on in Malibu. Play it for me.
Probably out of 13 or 14 lots, 5 of them are for sale. I hear most going to Chinese folk who are buying them all up. These are lots that are probably $6 million a piece, maybe 7,000, 7,500 square feet. So very small lots, very expensive lots. And as you can see, the people who lived here for years, these are family homes, have chosen not to try to rebuild.
All right, something is going on because I counted 8 lots for sale in front of my residence, and that's a short run. I mean, that's out of maybe 25 or 30 lots, 8 of them are for sale. So I don't know if the Chinese are buying them all up, and I don't know how it works, but there's an inordinate amount of lots being sold and not being rebuilt by the owners. And obviously you can see there's no rebuilding going on by any owner on PCH. As predicted from the hotel room one day after the fire, when I say one day after fire, I mean 8 hours after the fire, I sat in that hotel room in Burbank and I said, there shall be no rebuilding because there will be no giving of permits. And we're 9 months and I don't see one stitch of building materials. So lots of lots for sale and zero rebuilding.
Zero rebuilding. 9 months later, folks. Nothing. There's no construction crews. There's no, this home is being rebuilt by, the Smith Corporation. Absolutely nothing is going on. Here it is. I mean, look at this. Nothing. Again, I've been through I've been around natural disasters and I've been through one where this whole area was destroyed, absolutely destroyed. And a day later, all the construction crews are out.
Yeah.
The construction crews, it's not anything, no animus towards them, but they're actually they're going to make millions. They make lots of money rebuilding this house, especially roofers. And they're all out. They're all out putting their cards out. Everybody's getting it done. Everybody's lining up. We're fighting over contractors. All of us were. And nothing here. Nothing. People are just selling them to people who are compliant to the globalist agenda, the Chinese. Look at this. Nothing. And again, does everybody realize, again, don't have a normalcy bias, how weird this is? I mean, all of us have always seen the news broadcasts of a tornado that blows through a town in Texas. And what do they talk about the entire time? We will rebuild. Nobody's rebuilding here.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because nobody will issue them a permit. Again, this goes back to my whole, what this podcast is predicated upon. The globalist agenda is to leverage you into a one world commerce system with a single access point to that commerce controlled by them. Well, the access point here is permitting. Nobody can get a permit in Malibu. Nobody can get a permit in Palisades. Not one home has been rebuilt. Everybody can understand this. In 9 months, not one home has been rebuilt. And I believe last time I checked, 4 permits total have been issued. Nothing. This is, if we had a media, this would be worldwide news because of the mass corruption involved in this. Because what they'll do right now is they'll get there eventually when they have the proper buyers, and proper owners, then they'll issue the permits. It's all, again, controlling access to commerce. All you got to do, you got to have a QR code. You got to have a biometric ID card. And again, once I have it, then I have the access, right, Tom? Well, until somebody turns it off because you did something wrong or you get a low enough social credit score. All right, let's get to the purpose of the show now, finally. At 10:03, these stand downs, never seen anything like it in my life. Where now, again, Tom, where's your bona fides? I don't know, 25 years of law enforcement. And Brent can answer the question too. I have never in my life ever seen another law enforcement agency refuse to back up another. Ever. Federal to local, local to federal. Ever in my life. And believe me, the FBI needs it every time because they suck. So they always need local law enforcement. They suck. They lose every gun battle. They suck. Look at Waco. They suck. No, you didn't realize that no law enforcement agency, I know that it was ATF and FBI and everything at Waco. Do you know that nobody would ever do in local law enforcement what the feds did there? Nobody. If that was the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office and our SWAT team negotiators, that would have been over in a day. It's called expertise that they don't have because they never actually associate with people. They just flip papers around. They're just paper shufflers. But I digress. So anyway, here we have the stand downs in Chicago. Well, Chicago and Portland, why did this happen? Gunther Eagleman video, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is refusing to allow Chicago PD to respond. Play it for me.
Confirming the reports that Chicago police were ordered to stand down when ICE agents were surrounded and rammed by cars. And do you want Chicago police not to help ICE agents?
Our police officers respond to every single emergency in this city. The brave women and men who sign up to serve and protect this city are committed to keeping us safe. And what we have made very clear is through our Welcoming City Ordinance, when it comes to civil immigration enforcement, absent a warrant, our police department will not dub as federal ICE agents. In fact, we believe it's antithetical to driving violence down in the city of Chicago. When people call 911, we do not ask what their immigration status is, right? And so our police department will respond to every incident in which their services are needed to keep people safe, protecting the fundamental right to be able to protest, ensuring the maximum safety of our residents. That is the top priority of our administration.
Can you confirm, though, were Chicago police told to stand down?
What I can confirm is that our police department responds to every single 911 call. When 911 is called and there's an emergency, our police department shows up, as they've always done.
But let your yes be yes and your no be no. For whatever is more than these, Brandon Johnson, raised in a Pentecostal church, is from the evil one. When you are point blank asked, did you tell CPD, Chicago Police Department, did you tell them to not respond to ICE calls? Did you tell them that? It's a simple question, is it not, Aaron?
Yeah,
is it not? It's
simple.
easy, right? Am I missing something?
No.
I mean, life for me is pretty easy. You're either lying or you're telling the truth. So here's the thing. Did you tell them to stand down? It's very simple. The answer should obviously be absolutely freaking not, because we're not going to have federal officers getting killed because CPD refuses to respond and back them up, right? But no, he just would answer with, our cops respond to every 911 call. That's not the question that was asked. Did you tell the CPD to stand down? Rapid Response 47 video, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson just announced he signed an executive order. Let's answer the question for him, shall we? An executive order creating ICE-free zones. Play for me.
And today we are signing an executive order aimed at reining in this out-of-control administration. The order establishes ICE-free zones. That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids.
Strike one, nose ring to your left. But anyway, he answers the questions. ICE free zones? Okay, nobody can do that, just like Gavin Newsom can't force ICE officers to not wear masks. You don't have any authority there. And believe me, I am not one for much federal authority, but where there has to be some federal authority, they have it. I mean, that's the thing. And one of the areas where there should be federal authority is federal cops that don't have to follow jurisdictional lines inside the continental United States of America. We do need a national police force, certainly not the FBI or the ATF, because they are simply the Gestapo for the globalist left and the Democratic Party. And now, ICE is doing well. The FBI is still horrible. ATF is still horrible. I don't even hear anything about them. The FBI, I hear stuff about them, basically bad for the most part, except for Kash Patel's releasing things. But other than that, not a whole lot of good. Nothing good coming out of the CIA under John Ratcliffe. That's just surprising to me. I shouldn't be surprised because I should be blackpilled by like Aaron is now, or don't expect anything. But I still expect, because I'm not devoid of a soul yet.
Love hopes all things.
Yeah. See, Aaron's preaching. Yeah. All right. So anyway, they create ICE free zones. So that just tells you flat out what the answer is. Did you give a stand down order? The answer is absolutely yes. And it's exemplified in the very fact that he won't answer the question, and he created ICE free zones. So these terrorists, and again, it's not them that's causing it's all coincidence, I guess. So you have multiple shootings at ICE facilities, lots of violent, horrendous protests going on. And as Aaron pointed out, as we were watching in the pregame, it's just like rewinding the reel back to June of 2025, watching the fireworks explode next to the cops from Antifa and BLM. Just like, man, it's nostalgia. It's just like nostalgia going back 5 years.
Yeah, I missed that.
So here we are. We're back to it once again, all the same things. And I wonder why it is that these ICE agents have been vilified. Because they're being purposely vilified by people like Brandon Johnson, calling them mass marauders kidnapping people in our streets. And he actually made this point. He said that having ICE in our streets does not help us solve our violence problem, does not help us lower the violence. So taking violent criminals off the streets doesn't lower your violence problem. So it means to be a Democrat in 2025, speaking like that. Let's go to the next one. Red Wave press video. Just in, Chicago police officers are outraged after the chief of patrol, it's on tape, you see it all right here, ordered them to stand down. Play it for me.
We're hearing from a lot of rank-and-file Chicago cops who say that they are outraged that they were ordered to stand down after federal agents were attacked. The communication for the stand down appears to have come from the chief of patrol himself over the communications platform with the Office of Emergency Management and Communication, reading very clearly, no units will respond to this. Multiple police sources have confirmed that that message is authentic, and it is backed up by audio of the stand-down order.
So the chief of patrol clear everybody up. We're not responding over there.
All right, and 999, just to confirm, 39th Police in Kedzie, they were saying that they were being surrounded by that large crowd, and they were requesting the police were not sending. I'm waving off all the cars heading to 39th Police in Kedzie.
Again, those are the orders we're being given.
Now, the official statement from Chicago Police Department reads, CPD responded to the scene to document the incident. CPD officers were also on the scene to maintain public safety and traffic control. It happened in Brighton Park. The scene was triggered when two individuals allegedly rammed a Border Patrol vehicle with their cars. Border Patrol agents shot the driver of one of the allegedly attacking vehicles. The drivers are now charged federally, but the incident triggered a riot. That's when the calls for help went out. Now, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson just moments ago dodged questions about whether that order tracks back to him, but he says he doubts the narrative of the Border Patrol agents.
They claimed it was defensive fire, but frankly, we cannot trust anything that comes out of the administration. We have a rogue, reckless group of heavily armed mass individuals roaming throughout our city that are not accountable to the people of Chicago. Their actions put all Chicagoans at risk.
And we knew this was coming, but the Illinois Attorney General has just made it official. The state of Illinois is now suing the Trump administration, claiming that the president is using American soldiers to punish his political.
All right, so in response to this, what actually happened is there was a shooting, a justified shooting by ICE, and after one of their officers was put in danger, so the use of deadly force was allowed and was used properly. And then they were surrounded by a bunch of people. Surrounded. Now remember, you have Brandon Johnson. You hear his rhetoric. This is a, quote, rogue, reckless group of marauders. That's what he says about federal law enforcement, who are simply doing what? What are they doing? Rounding up deportees, namely criminal deportees. These are the marauders. And again, all of the comparisons, this is like Hitler's Germany. Did Hitler go around deporting illegals? No, Hitler went around putting German citizens in concentration camps. They were actually German citizens put in concentration camps. ICE has nothing to do with citizens, but you have the mayor of Chicago, again, with a single-digit approval rating, calling them a reckless group, a rogue, reckless group of marauders, kidnapping and disappearing American residents. You don't ever call them citizens, residents. Now, here's the disgusting part. If you are in law enforcement, if you've ever been in law enforcement, I want you to let this just sink deep into your heart. Where you have ICE agents, these are federal what? LE, federal law enforcement. These are brothers in blue. Many of them were cops before this. Watch commander, per the chief of patrol, clear everybody up. We're not responding over there to you want to talk about a rogue, reckless group of marauders. The rogue, reckless group of marauders were the people that were surrounding ICE, and Chicago PD says, quote, we're not responding over there. When you have them calling, these, by the way, these were not just simply witnesses saying, hey, ICE may have a problem over here. This was ICE calling them. This is cops calling cops. And I'll flat out tell you this. And you're like, Tom, you're awfully bold saying things like this. I can flat out tell you, I'm going anyway.
Yeah.
I'm going anyway. That, by the way, everybody, when it comes to Benghazi, if other people like Chris Paranto, if he wouldn't have made that bold stance, if he would have made that bold move and said, screw you, Hillary Clinton and Hussein Obama, I'm going anyway, then a whole bunch of more people would have died. So sometimes, you can't follow orders. And my patrol car's going over there.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's time to take things off the chain. It's time to open fire. If you're surrounded, your life's in danger, you need to open fire. Yeah, that's the way that it is. A couple of these people get put down, that'll be the end of it. Tom, you're espousing violence. I'm espousing violence and self-defense. Dispatcher, because she knows. This dispatcher knows my butt is on the line here. So she gets everybody on the record. It's just, it's like Tyler Robinson making sure that he confesses to everything.
All right.
She gets herself on the record. Smart lady. I would have done the same thing. All right. And $9.99, just to confirm, $9.99 is the lieutenant over patrol. He just received an order, so you know how patrol works, from the chief of patrol. Chief of patrol isn't even on duty. He just called up and said, you know what, Lieutenant, well called a watch commander, we're not responding. These are other cops calling you. Again, these are not even, citizen requests obviously shouldn't be disregarded either. But I'm saying these are actually cops. Just be like your own. I mean, think about this, Brent, in Cincinnati. I'll think about it right here in Sarasota. We're your own agency or a agency right next door, whether it's here, Sarasota Police Department, Northport Police Department, Venice Police Department. They're calling for you to help, and you go, we're not responding over there? I will drive. I will drive over whatever it took to be there to help my brothers in blue, period. And the Chicago, and by the way, the CPD guys should have, CPD guys should have done it. Yeah. They should have. They can be mad. It's fine. You need to disobey orders right there. By the way, you can get a cop job anywhere.
Yeah.
Just get fired from there and come right down here to Florida. There's plenty of us hiring. They can't get cops anymore. Why? Nobody can pass backgrounds anymore. Everybody's hundreds of cops short in every agency. Hundreds of them short. Every agency. Can't find people to work it. So dispatcher gets herself on record. All right, $9.99, watch commander. 39th place and Kedzie. They were saying that they were being surrounded by a large crowd. They is cops. And they were requesting the police, they were requesting their brothers in blue to be sent. And they were requesting the police, and we're not sending? I'm waving off all the cars heading to 39th and Kedzie? Watch commander. Again, those are the orders we're being given. Okay, listen, there's lots of crime here. At minimum, fired, pension gone. For every single person involved in that order. Fired. And you need to be charged with felonious obstruction of a federal officer. Every one of them. Every single one of these dirtbag, disgusting, repulsive human beings. Right there. You know what? I'm going to do this. Brent, I'm going to throw you a little curveball. I'm going to go to my favorite part of the show here. I've got so much. I'm not even going to get to Portland. But I have the answer to it all. Everybody, we're going to go all the way up to the YouTube video and go from there. We're going to finish the show going from YouTube, Visegrad 24, Scratch Point, all those in a row.
Okay.
Everybody knows. Aaron, you know this. I solved the border crisis. we know that, right? Shelby Park down in Texas. We know it. What was my answer to it all? Razor wire.
Yep.
Whenever there's razor wire, does everybody realize nobody crosses it? No, I'll challenge that, Tom. Go ahead, challenge it. Good luck. Whenever there's Del Rio, Texas, Shelby Park, Texas, where Shelby Park, 3,000 a day pre-razor wire, and then they put up about $100,000. No multi-billion-dollar border wall, nothing. No bulldozers, no backhoes, nothing. Put up razor wire. $100,000 worth. 3,000 to 4,000 a day went down to what number? You remember, Aaron?
0.
0.
Yeah.
In one day. And then Biden sued them to get the razor wire removed. Remember that? That's what it means to be a Democrat in 2025. Congratulations. So I have the answer to all of this now. Of course, it just comes out of my genius. Water cannons, baby. Water cannons. Get them out there and just blast these people. So I put together some examples for you of how water cannons will solve all of our problems in these blue cities. So we're going to run all these videos right in a row, guys. YouTube, I'm going to give everybody their credit. YouTube video, Visegrad video, Scratch Point, Gay Gallops, Warpath, John Doe, and then Wokeness. Play it for me.
Live at protests underway right now in Turkey. We also have some dramatic video from earlier today. People angry over the government's plan to revamp Istanbul's main square. Many of them staging a sit-in. They're hoping to stop developers from knocking down trees. Protesters using water cannons and tear gas to disperse the crowds. Watch out, this poor guy's about to get knocked down. Bam! There he goes. Protesters blame the prime minister, who they say has
Splish splash, I was taking a bath. Long about a Saturday night. Yes, I rubbed up, just relaxing in the tub. I'm thinking everything was alright. You know, I stepped out the tub, I put my feet on the floor. I wrapped the towel around me, then I opened the door and splish splash.
I love the girl on the bike. Aaron, play one more time. Just play it right over She's out of frame. She just doesn't exist anymore.
Bye. Committed.
Bye.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, that's it. 1021. Rumble Rants, Night Nate Dad, $150. Texas Billy, $25. Nude Monk, $20. BP2 Tim, $17, $20. Richard Perry, $10. Jules, 21 Hours, $10. Sexy Pony, $1. Thank you guys so much in the rant. Thank you guys so much in the chat. Guys, stick around for the post game. More sombrero stuff and everything else. You'll love it. Stick around for the post game. Love you guys. Back here tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. God bless you. Word of God's quick and powerful and sharp. It is not compromising. It is not a butter knife. God wants you well. I don't care whether it's stage 4 cancer or a hangnail. God wants you well. You have got to stand in it. You cannot be double-minded. The Spirit on the inside of you, partnered with the Holy Ghost, is crying out and saying you are well. Don't get in the way.
Have you ever had a question you were too afraid to ask? Or a thought you knew everyone was thinking but no one dared to say out loud? Welcome to the Hope Hotline, where nothing's off limits and we say what others won't. Real talk, raw truth, your questions finally answered.
Thanks for watching the Tom Laipply podcast. We appreciate your support. As a special thank you, when you donate $25 or more, you will get a free TLP koozie. Enjoy your favorite cold drink while tuning in to our latest takes on current events. Your support keeps us going. Donate now to claim yours.
وليجريك للدين ستحيا تعشق ما قلبك يهوى أو أن الأيام ستحلو وترى الدنيا ستنجى دينك بحر من آمال ستضل لجميع الأحلام ليس دينك.
This is the President of the United States during a government shutdown, basically pushing out juvenile things on social media.
Anyone who stands up to the president, anyone who criticizes the president, anyone who says anything adverse to the president's interests gets the full weight of the federal government brought down on them.
I wasn't exaggerating when I said that I received in the mail a Trump 2028 hat.
Democrats have lost 2.1 million voters. Republicans have gained 2.4 million. That's a deficit that you have of 4.5 million.
It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the
But the Democrats, the liberals, they'll live right in the crime. And then they'll open a coffee shop and buy the building and evict everybody in the building and gentrify the area. And, you know, what's over there? Oh, well, it's better than fucking shooting me dead. They lasted almost 9 minutes. Do they have a nose ring? Yeah, when they have those, it starts going off or whatever. This is racist. We need to leave. These people are having too much fun. Yeah, they're gonna go home and watch some Jimmy Kimmel and refresh the system.
This female Marine wanted to prove she was stronger than the guys, so they set up a pugil stick match between her and another boy. The instructors gave her an opportunity to prove she was stronger, so the match began. And well, just take a look for yourself.
Welcome to hell.
I think I'm in the wrong place.
It says here that you're a corrupt politician.
I wasn't corrupt. Okay, maybe a little corrupt.
Don't worry, you got off easy. Washington, D.C. for eternity.
Oh, well, that's not so bad.
Take the corridor on the left. Your door is at the end of the hall.
Well, shit.
Mr. Reagan.
What is your name as a group?
The Click.
Click or click?
Click.
Let's do it.
Hey girls, girl, I can't feel nothing when we're alone. I push it down, low. Look at our ringing by the girl. I feel it loud. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Hallelujah. 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 Ooh, yeah. Yeah. Hallelujah.
Ooh, chirpy, chirpy, cheep, cheep.
Woke up this morning and my mama was gone.
Ooh, chirpy, chirpy, cheep, cheep, chirpy, chirpy, cheep, cheep, chirp. Chirpy, chirpy, cheep, cheep, chirp.
Is this the intro?
He posts a deepfake video with sombreros in it. He thinks that people are going to joke about this. I promise you, they're not.